Welcome back to Hannity. So, during his interview with 60 Minutes, President-elect Donald Trump promised to deport criminal illegal immigrants right away. Not everyone is happy with Mr. Trump's plan. As the Washington Times reported yesterday, some immigration advocates are calling on President Obama to pardon a large, massive group of illegals. The Times writes, quote, illegal immigrants are preparing to ask the President Obama, to pardon some 750,000, quote, dreamers, saying such a move is their last best hope to stave off what they fear. So is there going to be a wave of deportations once Donald Trump takes office? And now some universities are reportedly, they're facing pressure from students and professors to become illegal immigrant sanctuaries. Joining us now with reaction, the host of Justice, Judge Jeanine Pirro, and the author of Defeating Jihad, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Let's talk legally. Okay, if Rambo Deadfish, if San Francisco, if Comrade de Blasio, all these people defy the law of the United States, and they say, we're not going to listen to the president, we're not going to follow federal law, are they aiding and abetting? Are they themselves committing a crime?
Well, this is the way you would have to look at it. They would be, if the feds or ICE lodge a detainer, then they are harboring a fugitive, and they are aiding and abetting in the harboring of a fugitive. The way to hurt them is to make sure that you take away their money for sanctuary cities, which is what they didn't do last year with the budget. But let me explain one thing.
Okay, all right, so they'll defund that. Trump would do that.
Trump is going to do that, and Trump has to do it.
So here's the next question. Well, what about those people that still harbor them?
The people that still harbor them, what he's talking, the cities?
Is that a crime?
I'm not sure, because the feds cannot force the locals to do their job for them. It's a commandeering clause as interpreted by the courts.
What if they pull somebody over and they know that person's illegal and they let them go?
And the locals let them go?
Yeah. Is that a crime?
But the feds cannot force them to hang on to that guy. The feds can only if they have the information. What the feds are doing now is they are getting rid of the information.
All right. If I encourage somebody to break the law, I say, okay, yeah, just break the law. Don't listen to that law.
But what you have to do, look, this is what Bobby Jindal tried to do when he was running for president. He got a lot of heat for it. You have got to actually be and have an overt act in furtherance of the crime to be part of the conspiracy. Here's the bottom line. This is a fallacy. A chief of police like Beck has an obligation to protect his citizens. A sanctuary city is allowing criminal illegals to run rampant. And his claim that he is protecting them and creating a back and forth with the illegals. No, what he's doing is he's allowing criminals to run rampant and victimizing the illegals. I know, I was a DA. What you're doing is you're allowing the illegal criminals to victimize the illegals who aren't criminals.
All right, let me go to Sebastian Gorka. From the perspective, all right, we understand what criminal aliens can potentially do. That's a no-brainer. Donald Trump said we got to build the wall first. After the wall is built, the country will make decisions. He'll make decisions about those that didn't respect our laws and sovereignty. Isn't the bigger issue about borders, though, the security issue that you're dealing with? In other words, you study ISIS. You know al-Qaeda. You understand radical Islamists. Don't they know that border's open? Don't they know that's an easy entry point for them to get into the country, to commit acts of terror in towns and cities, et cetera?
They don't just know that, Sean. They actually have been exploiting it. We associate Judicial Watch here in D.C. with the amazing work of Tom Fitton and Chris Farrell on Servergate. But Judicial Watch has also been investigating exactly how the southern border, especially a 60-mile patch between Texas and New Mexico, is being exploited by jihadists. There are reports from the local, not the feds, but the local Texas Public Safety Department. There are reports from Mexico that jihadists are using the rat runs. They're using the coyotes to bring people into the United States. There is an individual who reported that the Garland attack, you remember the attack in Garland, Texas, that was connected to jihadists in Mexico and Texas. So, Sean, it's not hypothetical, it's already here. And those cities that say they're going to harbor or maintain their sanctuary status, I'd like to remind them of one thing. Donald Trump won this election mostly on a platform of law and order. Clearly, they still don't understand what happened last Tuesday in America.
Yeah.
There's another piece to this. We do not allow the harboring of American criminals. Why are we allowing for the harboring of illegal foreign criminals? And the United States Supreme Court, in response to President Obama's executive action with DAPA, said, no, Mr. President, we are not going to allow you, by affirming the circuit court and having a split decision, we're not going to allow you to prevent the deportation of 5 million illegals. They have to be deported. So President Obama should get off his high horse at this point and understand that we are a country of laws, and stop talking down to President-elect Trump and telling him what to do. We are a country of laws. They have to be followed.
All right, guys, good to see you both. Thank you. And very important questions that will be coming up. This is going to be a big fight. All right, up next tonight on this busy news night on Hannity.
I think that they will probably start with the biggest offices in the very near future, and certainly shortly after Thanksgiving at the latest.
Newt Gingrich speaking earlier today outside the Trump transition office in Washington, D.C. about when we can expect cabinet positions to be announced. Matt and Mercedes Schlapp, they'll join us next with reaction. And later, Duck Dynasty's own Willie Robertson is here to weigh in on the election results. Plus, he's got a brand new book out. That and more tonight on Hannity.
I remember historically very often they announce cabinets in mid-December. Now, given the nature of the hyper-press of the modern era, they may not be able to wait that long, and it all kind of leaks out. But I think that they will probably start with the biggest offices in the very near future, and certainly shortly after Thanksgiving at the latest. The relationship between the president-elect and the vice president-elect is very close. That's why, he was assigned to come down here and be the head of the transition. Nobody should kid themselves. I mean, this will be President Trump's administration. He will make all the major decisions. That's how he's run his empire when in the private sector, and it works for him.
All right, that was Newt Gingrich earlier today outside the Trump transition office in Washington, D.C. Now, they're hard at work trying to fill key cabinet positions at the White House. Now, the media, some lawmakers have been critical of a few of the names being floated for key posts. And as I've been saying now for a couple of nights, President-elect Trump, you've got to ignore these people. They will never support you. They never did support you. And you should not try to appease the media or this Washington establishment. Joining us now, American Conservative Union Chairman Matt Schlapp and Fox News contributor Mercedes Schlapp. Mercedes, I actually heard your name floated as a potential RNC chair, and I wrote Matt and said, tell her no. Don't do it. Don't do it. Look, I would support you if you wanted to do it, but I'm like,
well, thank you,
Matt,
Sean.
tell her no.
Well, let me tell you, Reince Priebus did such a phenomenal job. Those are big shoes to fill, I have to say. So this transition, I think, is moving right along. I think everyone has to take a deep breath. Okay, as we know, when you look back at 2008, President Obama announced his first cabinet secretary pick on November 24th, which was Secretary of Treasurer Geithner. And then, Secretary of State, when that was announced? December 1st, which was Hillary Clinton. So I think this is a moment where the media really loves this narrative, Sean, about the campaign, the transitions in disarray. Remember, they used to think the campaign was in disarray. But Donald Trump, I think, has a very clear understanding and a tight control of the process, along with Vice President-elect Pence. And I do think that they need to take the necessary time to make these incredibly important decisions for his administration.
Yeah. Look, these are important positions. It used to be that presidents get the benefit of the doubt to bring in the team that they think are best able and capable of fulfilling the promises they made to the American people. You see what's happened with Steve Bannon. The liberal media's tried to smear, slander him. It's all been lies, but that's what they do. They're now trying to do the same thing, Matt, to Rudy Giuliani. Is it effective?
Yes, it's effective. And to my friends in the Trump transition, they need to get on top of this with rapid response immediately. What happens in Washington is that there's a corrosive effect when the Democrats put you in their target. And I think for Steve, who's a very close friend of mine, someone I have the highest regard for, something who these are lies, this is slander, this is a smear job. But unfortunately, in a democracy, over time it can work. And they've got to be ready to defend these people as they announce them. And it's one of the hard things in a transition. Look, Sean, what Trump has done, what President-elect Trump has done is the right thing. We have a pre-transition for the first time in history, which is really a waste of time and money. After he won this race, he got a hold of his transition. He put the vice president-elect in charge, which was exactly what George W. Bush did with Dick Cheney. No one's going to mess around with Mike Pence. Donald Trump is making these decisions. This transition is totally going in the right direction. He needs to just block out all this chatter. But you've got to defend your people when they get picked, both for the White House staff and these cabinet secretaries.
Yeah, all right. Who would be key people you'd want Trump to look at, Mercedes?
Well, there's so much talent out there, especially amongst his own closest advisors. Obviously, between Rudy Giuliani, Ambassador John Bolton, Jeff Sessions, I mean, he has got a lot of the talent right there. So I think for the most part, it's going to be figuring out where they have the best talent and where they can fit those people. Obviously, I think the Attorney General job is incredibly important. We've always seen in history that job needs to be one where the president really can confide in that individual, because so many major decisions come out of the Department of Justice.